While not the tallest, still Mount Sinai is important to Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Mount Sinai draws visitors, skeptics, and scientists who have made unexpected discoveries. In this video, we will talk about the terrifying discovery that is made by experts in Saudi Arabia about Mount Sinai. But before we start, subscribe to our channel and make sure to watch till end, as this new discovery is really shocking. So, let's begin. Historians have different opinions regarding the location of Mount Sinai. The scientists have been polled, but they rarely reach a consensus. Mount Sinai's most popular destination is the 2285-meter granite top, which is located on the Sinai Peninsula. On the other hand, the height of Mount Everest is 8850 meters. In the years 381 to 384 AD, Eusebius of Caesarea and Aegea traveled to this location. Mystics and travelers looking for spiritual enlightenment frequented the area at the time. That the well-known monastery of St. Catherine was established at the foot of the mountain during the early years of the Messianic Christian era. Perhaps among these visitors was Paul the Apostle. This monastery, which is managed by the Orthodox Church of Mount Sinai, is home to the Greek Codex Sinaitic of the Bible, which dates back to the 1st century. Charles Beck, a notable scholar, proposed Mount Baker, which is located to the northeast of the Gulf of Abar, as the location of the birthplace of Islam. Midian is Saudi Arabia. Jin Koenig, a French researcher, indicates Hillel's volcanic top, although Philby points to Wadi al-Harrow's Jabal al-Manir. An implausible biblical site called Jebel al-Ors was proposed as the location of Mount Sinai by the late Ron Wyatt. After discovering it in 1978 at Nawab in the Gulf of Abar, which is an eastern branch of the Red Sea, Wyatt came to the conclusion that Mount Sinai was located to the east of the miraculous crossing of the Red Sea in western Saudi Arabia. The best explanation that Wyatt could come up with was Jabal al-Lawz, the highest point in the mountain range that can be found in western Saudi Arabia. In 1984, Wyatt and his two sons traveled to Saudi Arabia without proper documentation in order to explore and take photographs there. After taking their films, the Saudi authorities accused them of being Israeli spies and imprisoned them for 78 days. Wyatt made his way back into Saudi Arabia without permission in order to locate the Mountain of God. Following delegations, researchers uncovered encouraging results. Nevertheless, the majority of academics think that these results are still theoretical and lack archaeological validation. Research conducted by Wyatt reveals that the well-known mountain is actually only a large pile of granite boulders, located approximately a quarter-mile from the mountain's base, and adorned with petroglyphs depicting bulls, cows, and oxen. New evidence suggests that Mount Sinai is located in Saudi Arabia, and the Bible provides yet another reference to the influenza virus. Deuteronomy 9:21 says that Moses dumped the ashes of the golden calf that he had burned into a nearby stream. It appears as though something supernatural is at work, since a big water float is seen flowing down the mountainside from nowhere. People believe that the fact that this historically significant water features enormous water drops is evidence of a swift and powerful torrent that carved its way down the mountainside after emerging through a rock. They waited for this miracle on ground that was completely dry. Is this supposed to be Mount Sinai? There is a widespread consensus among academics that the researchers' assertion can only be validated by geologists conducting an examination of the rock. Although it is in the middle of a dry desert, tropical monsoons frequently produce flash floods that smooth and polish these rocks. There is a possibility that Mount Sinai's third location is in the Negev Desert in Israel, between Petra and Kash Barnea. The researchers who are leading this investigation, which is referred to as Hakko in Hebrew or the Mountain of Saffron, are of the opinion that the ancient Israelites took a direct path from the Sinai Peninsula to Petra, which led them to Hakko via the Negev mountain. Religious activity peaked between 1600 and 1200 BC, soon before the Israelites left Egypt. Israeli archaeologists employed time-like correction and other evidence to date the Egyptian exodus to 354,000 BC. Scholars reject revisionist chronologies. Christians revere Mount Sinai for the many Israelite tragedies there. Israelites came in Sinai after escaping Egypt. Moses asked God to divide the sea after discovering that the Israelites were trapped between the sea and the army. The Egyptians caught up, but the Red Sea sunk their chariots and slaughtered them. Research indicates that Israelites invaded Saudi Arabia in the general area of New Wub Beach. Israelis were able to cross on foot. Bible scholars believe that Jabal al-Law was an Israelite camp and that the Cow Cave art, which is related to the Golden Calf. The Great Exodus from Egypt is another topic of debate among academics. The problem of time casts a shadow over Exodus. Around the 13th century BC, a number of scholars place the Exodus in the time period known as the Rana period or the Egyptian 19th dynasty. The Exodus from the ancient West is supported by the Western Thieves' workers' hut. Aya and Horemheb, the final pharaohs of Egypt's 18th dynasty, were laid to rest in Western Egypt by researchers from the University of Chicago. In the 14th century BCE, Horemheb took control of the Temple of Aya and expanded it. His reign spanned the late 14th century BCE to the early 13th century BCE. Aya is the new name for Horemheb. The workers that destroyed the temples of Aya and Horemheb in the 12th century BCE were known as Ramses IV's workers. The University of Chicago found a building and remnants of another house that belonged to Ramses IV's workers. It looks very much like an Israelite home from the Iron Age with its 4 separate rooms. The Egyptians constructed the Thean house, while the Israelites in Canaan erected stone houses with 4 rooms. Given the parallels, it is likely that the builders of the Thean houses were Proto-Israelites. The Exodus is supported by the 3rd intermediate Egyptian word list, which is known as Onomasteron Amano. Shep's accomplishment is acknowledged in an inscription that was carved into the great Spo Artemio in the 15th century BCE. Gudako had the misconception that the Exodus pharaoh was a girl. In this passage, Hatshepsut claims that she has finally dealt with those immigrants or overlooked the jobs that they held. Gudako refers to these newcomers as Israelites, but Hatshepsut is under the impression that their footprints have been eaten by the earth. Gudakos believes that this phrase is about their footsteps being covered by water. According to their account, the Egyptians drowned the Israelites. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Please like and share our videos and press the bell icon for more updates.